Well, now we turn to taking action against surging gun violence in America's biggest cities. Attorney General Merrick Garland back in his hometown of Chicago today, pledging federal help to stop the bloodshed. Garland's trip comes as violent crime spikes in major U.S. cities, including New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., and right here where we are in Chicago, where just yesterday there were multiple mass shootings in the span of just a few hours. NewsNation anchor Ruta Shabazi live in Chicago tonight with more on this.
Rob, 2021 is on track to become the deadliest year in 2 decades in America when it comes to gun violence. The Attorney General now on the ground here in Chicago, announcing the launch of strike teams in those metropolitan areas across the country with the aim of targeting those firearms, the source of those firearms, before they get in the hands of criminals.
It's kind of scary to wake up to that in the middle of the night and hear, noise and people screaming.
8 people wounded last night in Chicago when 36 people got off a party bus stopped at a gas station and someone in an SUV pulled up and opened fire. One of the victims, an innocent bystander, pumping gas. One person is in critical condition. And that was just one of 3 mass shootings in the span of 6 hours in the city, many of them involving teenagers. A 14-year-old and a 16-year-old, both shot in the head.
We are experiencing drive-by shootings, as we mentioned in our last press conference, much more than we've seen in the last several decades. I think it's not an exaggeration to say we are in a battle for the heart and soul of some of these communities as it relates to violence.
And today, Attorney General Merrick Garland arriving in Chicago, announcing strike teams in Chicago, Los Angeles, the San Francisco Bay Area, New York, and Washington, D.C. The goal to address illegal trafficking and prosecute offenses that help put guns in the hands of criminals.
We all know that our job is to go after those who pull the trigger, but our job is also, of course, to go after the sources of those guns, the corridors that they travel in, and the networks that feed those guns to the places where they are doing the most violent crime.
The strike teams will also focus on intelligence sharing and prosecutions across jurisdictions and embed federal agents in homicide units of police departments across the country, as well as conduct fugitive sweeps, an effort bringing together law enforcement agencies like the FBI, ATF, DEA, U.S. Marshals, and local and state law enforcement to achieve 3 goals.
One is targeted enforcement. A second is building community trust, without which our law enforcement efforts will not succeed. And the third is providing funds for communities' anti-violent crime, particularly anti-gun prevention and violence intervention.
And Garland today urging the confirmation of David Chipman as the head of the ATF. The ATF has not had a leader since 2015. He believes that will be a central force in this law enforcement operation. Marnie?